Thanks, Anna. In his latest book, Rabbi Shmuley makes a surprising argument about how to battle the forces of anti-Semitism and racial injustice. He says the solution is hate. But he's not talking about maliciousness. He's speaking about kosher hate, which is meant to be constructive. We should hate those who do evil.
The book is Kosher Hate, How to Fight Jew Hatred, Racism, and Bigotry. Rabbi Shmuley joins us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, the whole idea is you should love your enemies, but you say there's nothing wrong with having a hatred for when people do bad things. Do I have that right?
Well, the Christian Bible says clearly, as you said, that you should love your enemies, not God's enemies. Your enemy is the guy that steals your parking space. God's enemies are Bull Connor, people who sick dogs at little Black children because of the color of their skin. Martin Luther King was the greatest American of the 20th century. He famously used nonviolence to stop racial segregation, Jim Crow, etc. But the idea that we should love a Bull Connor, the idea that we should love the Klan is so morally reprehensible. We're supposed to hate evil in order to resist evil. Even where it says in the New Testament that you should turn the other cheek, that means to petty slights and petty insults. It does not mean to genocide like the Holocaust. It does not mean to vast human rights abuses like what's happening to the Uyghurs in China. We have to hate evil in order to fight evil.
But on Passover, don't Jews diminish their cup of wine over the Egyptians? Is that a relative analogy that's accurate?
God almighty, you should be a rabbi.
Yeah, well, believe me, after that, I got a long way to go.
No, that is very true, because we take no joy in having to fight and destroy evil. We never triumph over it. We don't build military arches to show that we defeated evil. It's a necessary evil to fight and hate evil. That's why you're right. We diminish from the cup every time we speak about the suffering of the Egyptians. But that doesn't change the very famous words of King David, the psalmist, where he said that those who love God hate evil. I ask anyone a simple question. What are you supposed to feel right now towards the Taliban, who brutalize women in Afghanistan? What are we supposed to feel towards the mullahs of Iran, who stone women to death and hang gays from cranes in town squares? Are we supposed to love them? That would be the ultimate broken moral compass to love those who brutalize God's children. The greatest generation in this great nation, America, were those who defeated and destroyed Hitler's evil tyranny. They hated Hitler, and Churchill spoke about hating Hitler. Lincoln used the word hatred to describe slavery. George W. Bush, 41, even said that he hated Saddam Hussein. Now, we can debate whether or not we should have invaded Saddam Hussein. But as to our emotions towards a man who killed 1.1 million people, 800,000 Arabs, 300,000 Kurds, if it was anything but hatred, I would make the argument that that's illusory morality. Yeah. We have to hate and fight evil.
So are you saying that there's a problem in America where we don't have enough hatred? It seems like the feeling would be easy. The solution to some of these problems is more difficult, and that's where the solution should come.
Well, that's a very fair question. Let's examine that for a moment. If we are doing it all right in fighting racism, anti-Semitism, bigotry, why does it keep on coming back? If we're doing everything right in trying to stop genocides, how is it that the Uyghurs or Myanmar, all the genocides happening in our time continue to happen? Well, after the Holocaust and Rwanda and Cambodia and Srebrenica and Kosovo, if we're doing everything right, if we're using all the emotional tools in our arsenal, why do we keep on failing? And I would say it's because we excuse evil. Maybe we do love too much. Maybe we sometimes we find reasons why people practice this evil instead of saying, no, there's no excuse for using gas chambers. There's no excuse for bombing Black churches in Birmingham. These are wicked, evil people who have to be stopped. You know, I think we're afraid to hate evil because we're afraid to harbor the emotion at all, because we think that it'll just consume us and soon it'll transfer to the good people. But by that same argument, I could say that we should be afraid to love. We might end up loving the wrong. Should a man be afraid to love his wife because he might love his mistress? No, direct your love to the moral condition and stay away from the immoral condition. There is kosher love and unkosher love, and there's also kosher hate and unkosher hate. Unkosher hate is racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, and kosher hate is hating evil.
Isn't there a difference, though, between you can prosecute evil, but doesn't it do a person better to forgive or to love after that? Or are those two separate things, or is it all intertwined?
Also a very fair question. I think forgiveness is always a beautiful thing, but then there were those things that are unforgivable. The Holocaust, the murder of 6 million Jews, 10,000 a day, and the International Holocaust Memorial Day is January 27th, and January 20th, this coming Thursday, is the 80th anniversary of the Wannsee Conference, where German bureaucrats sat over caviar, cognac, and cigars and planned the Holocaust in a 2-hour breakfast. Can we forgive that? 1.5 million children gassed to death? That can never be forgiven. Can we forgive the American abomination of slavery, that human beings were brought in ships, half of them dying perhaps in chains? We can go past it. We can learn from our mistakes. But to say we should forgive it, there are certain red lines that can never be forgiven. Genocide can't be forgiven. Murder, terrorism can't be forgiven. There are things that can be forgiven. I think all the partisanship in America can be forgiven. I think we can become one nation under God. I think the partisanship is disgusting and it's horrible. And you know what? I would even argue that when we don't learn how to hate evil, then we make the mistake of taking people who aren't evil and calling them evil. Half the partisanship between Democrats and Republicans is one party wishing the other one didn't even exist. They're wicked, they're evil, they hate each other. That's not a warranted hatred. We're supposed to have two parties in this country. But when we're speaking about the Iran nuclear program and their daily threats to Israel of annihilation, when we're thinking about genocides in Myanmar, when we're speaking about China's treatment of the Uyghurs, forced sterilization of women, that is an undeniable evil, and it has to be resisted.
Well, Rabbi Shmuley, it's good to speak with you. It's been a long time since you've been on the show. It's good to catch up, and congratulations on your new book. The book is Kosher Hate: How to Fight Jew Hatred, Racism, and Bigotry. You can find Rabbi Shmuley on Twitter and his site. Thank you, Rabbi Shmuley.
Thank you very much. Larry should consider that second rabbi job. Don't forget.
Okay, let me know if you need me.
Okay.